Have you ever started the month with the perfect budget only for it to fall apart a couple of weeks later? Well, you're not alone. As a matter of fact, surveys found that while 75% of Americans do have a monthly budget, 84% of those people admit to going over it at some point. The way we're taught to budget is often a rigid, unrealistic system that's designed to fail. So in this video, we're gonna go over these 6 reasons why your budget isn't working and what you can actually do now to fix it for good. The first mistake is treating your budget like it's some sort of crash diet, and as you can tell from me, crash diets don't work. When you first start budgeting, you get this huge burst of motivation that you decide to cut out all of your guilt-free spending in one shot. No more takeout, no more hobbies, no more sweet treats. But here's the thing, this all or nothing approach is the fastest way to burn out. You might last a week, maybe 2, but when you're stressed out or you're having a bad day, guarantee you will break these rules. And we're not talking about breaking the rules a little bit, we're talking about abandoning the whole budget completely. This is gonna leave you feeling defeated or feeling like budgeting just isn't right for you, but there is a fix to this. The fix is to aim for progress, not perfection. See, a budget is supposed to be a sustainable lifestyle, not feeling like an Olympic sprint. So focus on small, manageable changes that you can stick with for the long term. For example, instead of just trying to cut your restaurant spending by 80% outright, maybe just focus on 20% for this month. Or if you have a big goal of saving a $3,000 emergency fund, focus on the first $300. It feels so much better to consistently hit these small goals rather than just focusing on the big goals and feeling like you're failing at it. And this leads right into the second mistake, which is creating a budget with no space for fun. See, a budget where every dollar is assigned to just bills, debts, and savings is a budget that's doomed to fail. And that's because we're not robots and we're not AI, we're humans, which means we need a little joy and spontaneity in our lives. So if your budget feels like a prison where you're constantly judged for every purchase and you're telling yourself no for every little thing, of course you're gonna want to escape from it. This is what leads to things like binge spending, where you get so sick of depriving yourself that you end up going on a huge shopping spree and undoing all the progress you made. But the solution to this is to actually budget for fun money. Seriously, this is a non-negotiable. Create a category in your budget called fun money or guilt-free spending, where the point is to spend it on whatever you want with no questions asked. This could be things like coffee with a friend, movie tickets, a new video game. Just know that all of these types of expenses are coming out of this one account. This one simple thing will change your budgeting forever because it gets rid of the deprived feeling, it makes you less judgmental about your purchases, and it makes your budget something that you can actually stick with in the long run. This third mistake is a huge one and something a lot of us always do, and that's making a budget that only works during the perfect month. See, you remember things like your phone bill, your rent, your groceries, but life isn't that simple. What about that auto insurance that renews every 6 months, or those annual subscriptions that you always forget about? These aren't really emergencies. In fact, they're regular routine expenses that just don't occur every single month. But to us, they become financial disasters because we constantly forget about them. So if one of these surprise expenses show up and you're not ready for it, your entire budget is blown and you're gonna have to dip in the savings or credit cards to make up the difference. But the answer to this is to create what's called a sinking fund. These are small savings accounts where you put little bits of money every single month to go towards a larger expense. So instead of being shocked by that $600 car insurance premium, you simply prepare for it ahead of time. You take that $600 and break it up into $600 monthly payments, and then stick that in the account until it's ready to be paid off. Now, instead of it being a crisis, it's simply a bill that you already took care of piece by piece. And you could do this for every big non-monthly payment, whether it's car insurance premium, annual subscription, or vacation. And these turn these irregular expenses from a panic mode to peace of mind. Mistake number 4 is what I call the death by 1,000 coffees effect. And this is when all of those small, harmless purchases that we make on a day-to-day basis become a large, unaccounted for number. For instance, you might budget $400 for groceries, but with all the extra snacks, drinks, impulse buys at checkout, you may be closer to spending $600 a month. In fact, food is the biggest category that most of us tend to overspend, and if you can't tell, I also have a problem with that. The real problem here is that when we create a budget, we tend to budget based on what we wish we spent rather than what we actually spend. So we're basically budgeting for the fantasy version of ourselves. And the fix to this is completely simple, but it is a game changer. Track your spending for one full month. Don't try to change anything and don't judge yourself. All we're trying to do here is collect data and write down where every single dollar goes. At the end of the month, you'll have the cold hard facts and are able to create a budget that's based on reality and make conscious decisions on where you want to cut back on. And in my opinion, this is a lot more realistic and a lot more sustainable than trying to budget for the fantasy version of ourselves that we think about. All right, we have 2 more mistakes left, but if you're finding value in this video, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button down below. My goal here is to help as many of you as possible build your own financial freedom, so you don't want to miss what we have cooking up next. But let's get back into the video. Mistake number 5 is when you go all in on making a budget just to never look at it again. Your budget isn't a crock pot where you could just set it and forget it, but this seems to be a problem that a lot of people are going through. As a matter of fact, a recent Bankrate survey found out that 2/3 of Americans don't actually review their budgets within a 30-day period. Not checking in on your budget is kind of like drawing a map for a road trip and leaving the map on the kitchen table. You have a plan, but you have no idea if you're following it, so you won't realize you're way off track until it's way too late to fix it. But the solution is so easy, and that's to just schedule a quick check-in on your budget throughout the month. Now, some experts recommend a weekly check-in, others say monthly. Me personally, I like to check in every 2 weeks on my payday. Open up your budget, look at your spending, and just see how you're doing. Doing this will keep you aware of your spending habits and actually makes your budget more flexible. So if you overspent on a category like food, you can look to other categories like your guilt-free spending and pull money out of there to keep your budget balanced. This turns your budget from a forgotten document to a tool that's actually helpful for you. Okay, this last mistake is similar to the previous one, but just a little twist. And that's that you're not updating your budget for when your life changes. See, prices go up, utility bills get higher, or you may find yourself in a situation where your hours get cut off at work. And that just means that the budget that you made 6 months ago is completely irrelevant for today. And with today's periods of high inflation and the cost of living consistently going up, that money that you had allocated last year for things like gas and groceries just don't get you nearly as far today. For example, one study from the Wharton School of Business found that inflation back in 2021 required the average US household to spend about $3,500 more just to maintain the same standard of living. What should you do? Easy. Every 3 months, just sit down and do a quarterly report of your budget and your current living situation. And when you do this, think about the bigger picture. Ask yourself questions like whether or not my income went up. Did my expenses go up? Is there a category where I'm always overspending money, in which case my budget might just be too low? This is a chance to update your plan for your current needs today, because a budget isn't just some test that we get in school where it's pass or fail. It's a tool, but in order for the tool to work, it needs to be the right tool for what you need today. Remember, budgeting isn't about restriction or punishment. It's about putting you in the driver's seat of your financial life. But in order to really take control of your money, you need to know about the factors that are working against you to make you spend more. So if you want to learn how retailers psychologically trick you to spend more money, check out this video here where I go into 6 tactics that retailers use to get you to spend more.